right, welcome everybody. Welcome to our July 11th, 2023 Village Board meeting. I'm always amazed at how fast the year goes by that we're like halfway through it already. There's so much going on. And we have some special guests tonight, but first, let me lead off the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, like always, public comment. Is there anybody here that has comments that you would like to address the board? No? All right, hearing none, we're going to move on. Thank you. Okay, Vanessa, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, I'm so happy to have these fine guests today from the Mid-Hudson Energy Transition. And Jasmine Graham will be our guest speaker. She's going to give a presentation about CCA 3.0, Community Choice 3.0, in that there's even more good stuff to explain. So we'll have a short presentation. Hopefully this is just the beginning of a larger conversation about what community choice aggregation could mean for the village of Rhinebeck.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Can everyone hear me all right? All right, air conditioning is going down. I'll be brief because I know we're not all going to survive without these ACs on. All right, so hi everyone. I'm Jasmine Graham. I'm the Executive Director of Mid-Hudson Energy Transition. And as Vanessa said, I'm here to talk about CCA 3.0 today. So first and foremost, we have a brief agenda. We're going to talk about who we are as MHET, what is CCA, what this advanced CCA model looks like, what a potential timeline would be, and also we'll do Q&A and answer anyone's questions. So first and foremost, Mid-Hudson Energy Transition, we are a 501c3 not-for-profit. We are headquartered in Kingston, New York, so very close by. And our mission is to empower municipalities, their residents, and businesses to own and share renewable energy, create healthier buildings, and join in community wealth building to strengthen the resilience of the Hudson Valley in the face of climate change. So you may notice that our mission is a bit more broad than you would see from the average CCA administrator. For us, we're really focused on energy democracy, energy justice, and making sure that we have holistic solutions that address the climate crisis. And we definitely do that through CCA, through community choice aggregation, but we don't stop at the typical bulk purchase of renewable energy. We have a plethora of programs that kind of all complement each other and help folks to make this transition. So what is CCA? At its most basic, CCA is allowing the community to aggregate the customers, so usually it's residents and small businesses, into a buying pool. Oftentimes I explain it like Costco. When you buy in bulk, you get a discount. And so that's what CCA is at its most basic. It's residents, small businesses joining together and purchasing renewable energy in bulk together. So one of the questions that we often get is, how can you do this? Well, people think that your local utility is who decides where you get your energy, but it's actually your municipality. So the village has the opportunity to switch the default supply from the local utility to a renewable energy product through a CCA. And every resident and every small business always has the opportunity to opt out of the program with no penalties, no fees. If you don't want to participate, you're never forced to do so. And so, as I mentioned before, the way that CCA typically works is it starts with us buying cleaner energy. So we do that in a bulk purchase through a competitive bidding process. So we send out a request for information from energy suppliers and then eventually a request for proposals. They send us proposals, we choose the best rate, And actually, in the past, I managed another CCA program where we instituted a reverse auction platform so that the energy suppliers were actually outbidding each other in real time. And if someone got outbid in the last 2 minutes, it kicked it out another 2 minutes. And so a 15-minute bidding process ended up going about 47 minutes because they kept undercutting each other and pulling it out. So one of the important pieces is that your utility is still the one to deliver your energy, right? So on your electricity bill, you've got supply and delivery. This is just on the supply side. No matter what, the utility owns the grid, they own all the infrastructure, all the wires and poles. So your service doesn't change, just where you get your supply changes. And so you still receive your same bill from the utility. Nothing changes on that front. It's just a line item on your supply side that shows your different renewable energy supply. And then you, the end use customer, you get to benefit from renewables, from choice, and from local control. And so CCA's been around for a while. It's been around since 1997. Massachusetts was the first state to enact CCA. The first CCA in New York was Sustainable Westchester. I also happened to work at Sustainable Westchester for 4 years, and I managed that program. That program joined together, actually, when I first started, it was 20 municipalities, and by the end, there was 27 municipalities across Westchester, so 27 out of 45 municipalities had joined. And only states with deregulated energy markets can have CCAs. And for the most part, what we see in New York State is what we would call a CCA 1.0 model. And what we see in California is a 2.0 model. And what I'm talking to you all about today is a 3.0 model. So keep that in mind, but I'll go over that in a second. And then here, we have many neighboring communities with CCAs. In Ulster County, for example, you'll see Kingston, which is our home base, and that is our CCA community as of now. Here in Dutchess, you know that the town of Rhinebeck right next door is in a CCA. We've also got other folks in Putnam and all across. So in New York State in total, there's 165 local governments that have passed the local law, and 68 of those are right here in our Mid-Hudson region. But as I mentioned before, there's different versions of CCA. So 1.0, as I mentioned, is limited to that bulk purchase of power. So that's the Costco of energy buying, right? You say, hey, listen, we've got 10,000 households, or if you can join more together, you can say we've got 20,000 households. What's the best rate you can give us for renewable energy? CCA 2.0, which is what you see in California, is folks are actually, the CCA administrators are authorized to actually build their own local renewable energy supply. You don't actually see that in New York right now, but CCA 2.0, what it kind of looks like here is community solar. If you guys have heard of that, that's when you don't put solar on your own roof, but you subscribe to a project nearby. You get a guaranteed savings on your bill, and you're supporting local renewables. So one of the really amazing parts about a CCA program is that you can be in a CCA and you can get a fixed rate for that renewable energy, and you can also layer on community solar and get a guaranteed savings as well. So you're not limited to participation in one or the other. But advanced CCA, what we're talking about here today, is adding in that community solar, adding in building decarbonization and electrification, which I've kind of rebranded as healthy and resilient homes, because who knows what decarbonization and electrification is. You know, we've got these big words for everything, but at its most simple, it's getting fossil fuels out of your building, electrifying your heating and your cooling and your cooking, and then having renewable energy to actually support that electricity. And then adding in what's called distributed energy resources. These are things like battery storage with your solar system. There are ways that you can save money. You can get paid from your local utility by reducing your energy usage at peak times. That's something called a virtual power plant. And also wealth building opportunities to community members. So you'll see a little bit later on that we also are creating a fund that's going to help folks get access to the financing that they need to actually do these solutions. So as I said, we absolutely do not stop at the bulk purchase of power, but we kind of add in all of these other components that are crucial to making sure that people actually have affordable, livable homes that are supplied by renewable energy. And why do we do this? Because According to New York State's Department of Environmental Conservation, only 13% of our total GHG or greenhouse gas emissions are from electricity. So if you only address electricity and the bulk purchase of energy, you're ignoring the 32% of emissions in New York State that come from buildings and the 28% that come from transportation. So while we don't really deal with waste, industry, and agriculture, those last three things that you see here, we are dealing with the first three. So we are creating holistic solutions for buildings, transportation, and electricity all together. And so we have a Healthy and Resilient Homes program, and for us, what we've come to realize is that there are many, many programs available now to homeowners to make their homes healthy and resilient, but it's complicated. And so what we're seeing the demand for is basically a project management support, where we can help people get consultations and building assessments, connect them with their funding options or their local clean energy hub partner, which exists all throughout New York State now, get people the efficiency upgrades that they need and follow up with them with the kind of quality assurance and control. And we have this great little saying here that I would say our board member Marcy has like coined this. She says it every day: the cheapest energy is the energy you don't use in the first place. So for us, you know, we are not interested in going in and getting you on a heat pump right away. We want to make sure that first you've done energy efficiency work in your house so that you're lowering your bills, you're lowering your cost burden, and then when it's time to make the switch, you have a much smaller electricity load that you actually have to manage. And then, as I mentioned, we have a fund that we're developing. It's called the Mid-Hudson Energy Equity Fund. We've already filed for incorporation. It's a separate 501c3 nonprofit that will be used to provide grants and extremely low interest loans to folks to do this work that I just explained, the healthy, resilient homes. For us, it's clear that, you know, this work needs to be done, and there isn't adequate financing to get it done at the moment that's affordable for the folks that need it the most. So what we're able to do is partner with philanthropic institutions so that they can buy down the interest rate, so we can offer about a 2% interest rate to folks to do this work. And for us, it's really making sure that every single person has the means to transition if they want to. Ultimately, we're not going to meet our climate goals if we don't bring everyone along, and so that's kind of at the core of why we do what we do. And I would say that the number one thing that sets us apart from other CCAs is our focus on the community. All CCA administrators are required to do outreach. They're required to do at least 2 months of outreach in any municipality, but for us, we don't stop there. Unsurprisingly for us, the number one thing that makes a CCA successful is actually community involvement and engagement. So when people receive that letter that says, hey, the Village of Rhinebeck has joined a CCA, we do not want that to be the first time that you're hearing about it. We actually want you to be coming out to the information sessions and learning from your community groups. And in Kingston, where our first CCA program is located, we have Kingston Community Energy, which is how the CCA is branded, and we're actually in the creation of a community council so that everyday folks that don't typically have avenues for participation in a CCA are actually involved in and can guide all of our CCA programming. So the way that works is we're offering a stipend, $100 for folks to attend each meeting when they're on the council and to actually provide feedback so that we know that our programs are responsive to community needs. And we engage in what we call listening tours. So we go around, we meet with community groups, we meet with folks who, really anyone who wants to chat with us, to let them know what we've got going on, but mostly importantly to hear from them what the needs are in their community so that we know that the programs that we're developing, as I said before, are in response to real needs and not just us saying, hey, here's what you guys need, but them telling us what we need and then us saying, how can we support you? And we hold focus groups and we have many meetings and direct communication, and we really go above and beyond on the focus on the community. And then our relationship to the municipality, you know, our main and central concern is that we're not providing or we're not creating any sort of burden for the municipality. So we really focus on turnkey services that are no cost to the municipality. We get paid through the fixed rate on the energy supply contract, so there's no cost to the municipality in that way. And the way that we're able to support the CCA 3.0 program is through government funding, state, local, federal, as well as philanthropic grants, so that we can actually go above and beyond. And for us, really importantly, so that we can serve the most vulnerable populations. It's really important for us that we're creating solutions for low-income folks and for Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities. And in that regard, we really do prioritize real collaboration. For us, it's important that we have flexibility and that we can structure our engagement depending on what a different community needs. And then lastly, we are able, through all of this, to position communities and position municipalities to receive grants. So there's Climate Smart Communities grants and Clean Energy Communities grants, and you may know that joining a CCA on a renewable supply is one of the highest point items in those grant processes. And so that is, just kind of the start there. So this is what a typical kind of CCA timeline looks like. The first thing is that you have to pass an enabling legislation. So it's non-binding whatsoever. It's literally just a piece of legislation that says, if we end up wanting to do CCA, you're authorizing that you're able to do so. So that's always the first step, and there's always a public hearing, and so there's a bit of time there, but it takes about 1 to 2 months. And then we go into outreach and Public Service Commission authorization. So we go out, we do all that outreach that I was talking about, that at least 2 months, but we don't stop there. And then you send in a package to the Public Service Commission. That's the entity that oversees all CCA programs and all regulated utilities in the state of New York. And we wait for their authorization, and that could be 3 weeks, that could be 3 months, but typically, it's in the 2 to 5 month range. And then we can go out and source the electricity. As I said, we do that through a competitive bidding process where ESCOs energy supply companies bid against each other to provide the lowest rate for a renewable source. Then we can launch, and then post-launch is really just that continuing outreach. So, we have call centers, we have Spanish-speaking abilities, all of those things for folks to always reach out. And as I said before, anybody can exit the program at any time with no penalty. So that is a bit of the timeline. And that's all I've got for you. And I said I would keep it at 15 minutes, so I hope that I did that. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I know I threw a lot at you.
So my first question would be, typical CCAs, there's a contract period. And when people or public sign up to be in CCA, they're in that contract period. So it's a defined time. Is 3.0 the same way?
Correct. So 3.0 still starts with that bulk supply. We just kind of layer other services on top of it. But that bulk supply, when you go out for that bidding process, typically in the past, what we've done is you'll accept bids for multiple time periods. So when the longer the contract, typically the better rate that you can get. But you don't want to lock people into a 4-year contract, especially with the volatility of the energy rates. So typically you go in the kind of 2 to 3 year range. That's kind of the sweet spot. But you accept, 12 months, 24 months, 36. Sometimes you can get a 30-month contract, and it is actually the sweet spot. And so at the end of that, you go out with another bidding process, and then the whole thing kind of starts over again. But yeah, it's the rate that you choose is for that set period of time. And usually there's also a clause in the contract that can allow for a 6-month or 8-month extension if your rates are proving to be really favorable. You can usually negotiate with the supplier and exercise that clause.
Another question, if you opt in and then you opt out because electric rates by the utility have dropped for whatever reason, can you opt back in if the rates come up?
You mean as a resident?
Can you opt out, opt in, opt out, opt in?
Yes, you absolutely can do that. And I used to laugh about this all the time because when I was at Sustainable Westchester, I definitely had a few customers that I knew well that did that. And typically, electricity rates spike in the summer and the winter. Some folks really feel like they can beat the market, and they will opt in and opt out. The other option is you also can have the ability to opt down. I've had someone be like, I got laid off, I'm really pinching pennies right now, and I want to opt down to the standard rate, which is non-renewable, but I will opt back up to renewable when I feel like, I have the financial capability of doing so. The only caveat there is that whenever you're switching your supply, it goes through the utility, and it happens with your billing cycle. And so it takes about 1 to 2 billing cycles to opt out, and then it'll take you 1 to 2 billing cycles to opt back in. So it's not as immediate as I'm gonna get out because I saw my neighbor's bill is really great, but there's definitely folks that do that, and everyone has that flexibility.
Liz, go ahead.
Can you, when you talk about wealth building, can you just elaborate on that a little bit, how it applies to this program?
Yeah, so the fund that I spoke about, the Mid-Hudson Energy Equity Fund, that is a fund that is designed in 2 ways. So on one end, you've got folks that can actually invest in their local community. So the return is not anything substantial, but we're structuring the fund so that philanthropic foundations, along with impact or what they call angel investors, can actually buy into the fund and get a small return on investment, along with non-accredited investors. So that's everyday folks actually will have the ability to invest in this fund, which then administers loans to folks. And as we said, we're trying to structure it so that it's the absolute lowest rate. If I could get a 1% loan rate, that's what I'm gonna go for. But the wealth building in this is really providing an opportunity for the lowest income folks to do this work that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do. And for low income homeowners, they're able to do this work in their homes and have more valuable properties and more comfortable, less costly to operate, healthier, resilient buildings. A big piece of what we define as healthy and resilient is health and safety. So what I tell folks is, I, in good conscience, cannot tell someone who is low income, currently struggling with their electricity bills, to install heat pumps if their electricity bill is going to increase and it's already unmanageable for them. What they need to do first is energy efficiency and weatherization. But in good conscience, I can't have folks doing that if they've got mold in their home. And so what we start with is the remediation. And for us, it's really important that you're not sealing in someone's building envelope with toxins. And so while heat pumps have a lot of incentives right now, energy efficiency and weatherization through the Empower Plus program and also the Weatherization Assistance Program, there's a lot of funding available, but the piece that isn't well funded is that remediation work and deferred maintenance and structural issues, which are the things that are actually barring the most people from actually doing these clean energy upgrades in their homes. And so for us, if we're able to help people finance the roof that's caving in, now they're in a position to use the incentives for solar. Or if we're able to get the mold out, now they can do the weatherization. It's actually, back to that quote, the cheapest energy is the energy that you don't use. Once you get those hazards out of the way, now they can have the energy efficiency work done, which is going to lower their bills, put more money in their pocket long term. So it's really on the side of the low income homeowners that have more valuable properties, that have also the health and safety and energy efficiency and other cost benefits.
Eleanor.
The town CCA has 3 levels, standard, 50/50, and 100%. Do you have any information on rates that would show how you would compare, like if you got the 100% renewable, would you be pennies above, would you be, way above the market? Do you have any kind of a chart that shows like past performance or anything?
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to say, we wouldn't be able to estimate what it could be, but what I'll tell you and how I've always structured every single CCA bid that I've done is that you have a not to exceed price. So I can't even believe this, but when I was at Sustainable Westchester, I actually did all of the calculations for the price to compare against the utility rate. So we would look at the past 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. We'd calculate all these averages and weighted averages based on what our customers use. You take a look at that, and then you set your price not to exceed. So you would say, I'm not going to pay more than 9 cents per kilowatt hour, for example. And if none of the bids come under 9 cents, you don't go with any supplier. So for us, we build in that safeguard so that we know that we're not going to pay anything that we're uncomfortable paying. But the unfortunate part with electricity rates in New York State is that, or gas rates as well, you have no idea what the rate is going to be. And that was another thing that was kind of crazy to me when I joined Sustainable Westchester, fresh out of college. I had never paid an energy bill, and I said, wait, you don't know what the bill's going to be? You don't know what the rate's going to be? You just get it and then you pay it? Like, that was the most insane concept to me, and that's really the way that it is. So even when you have past performance, you can't indicate what future performance will be. And so in that regard, you're also on a typical CCA fixed rate contract. While it is a competitive bidding process, you know, while you're putting in every possible safeguard, there's no guarantee of savings. And so that's one thing that's one of the reasons why community engagement is so important to us, is because, like I said, we don't want people to hear about this for the first time when they get the letter, and we don't want people to think it's a shoo-in savings. It, you know, typically, and in the CCAs that I've run, we have always saved people money, but it's not a guarantee. That legally you cannot make that guarantee according to the Public Service Commission, but also you don't want to make that guarantee to an individual anyway. What you can do is layer it with community solar, which will provide you a guaranteed savings, and those two together will provide an advantageous package. But really it's about the not to exceed price that you set, and then the bid process that you go through.
I'm not looking for a guarantee, but for example, they had a chart, and so I took that home and I looked at my bill, and yeah, of course I'm looking at past bills, but I'm looking at if I had 100% renewable, it was just a fraction of a penny more, you know, and it just gives you a sense of, you know, that might just be a sales point. People can understand that even if they get 100%, they just pay a fraction or a penny or two more, they can figure out what that would be on their bill, and then they can make a decision, because I wouldn't mind paying a little more. What worries me is the idea of trying to figure out which is a reliable company to go to, and, you know, do that every month. That's what I think is one of the big sales points.
Right.
Of this, you know, this program.
Absolutely, and one of the biggest parts is that you do have a vetted, you know, third party. You know, we are semi-unique in that we're a nonprofit CCA administrator. I believe Sustainable Westchester is the only other nonprofit CCA administrator. So you really know that you do have a trusted, vetted third-party supplier or third-party entity that is vetting these suppliers. Because if you as an individual call up and say, hey, what's the best rate that I get? You know, you don't have the same buying power or economies of scale that we can get.
Can I just add one thing, Mayor Bassett? Mayor, I can see that wrong. The Village Board of Trustees always has the option, even if we recommend a price, you may say, it's too high for us, we don't want to go ahead with it. So you always have the final determination.
Yeah, that's important to us.
So if you're helping folks look at retrofits for you know, not, like you said, not wasting energy. I know it's difficult to get contractors out for a small job because some of these things are real tiny. Like, wow, you should really just put insulation in your attic or something. Do you coordinate that, the project management part of that, or?
So our Healthy Resilient Homes program is not fully up and running yet, but what we do is, or what we will do, and what we already have existing, is we do have partnerships with local contractors and other organizations. So Communities for Local Power, for example, has a green workforce training program that they send a lot of folks through, and they have partnerships with contractors so that we know that we have a lot of folks that can help. But we also really want to empower both renters and homeowners to know and feel comfortable doing this work themselves. So we're, you know, looking at creating like a renter toolkit for like the DIY kind of weatherization and air stripping. Some of it isn't so hard to do. Some of it is, and you know, absolutely should consult a professional. But it is, you know, we have the connections, and also we have the expertise on staff. I'm actually onboarding someone in 2 days who is going to be our Healthy Resilient Homes project manager, who's going to be able to coordinate all of those pieces. And so it is important. There's a lot of resources available. So right now, the biggest thing is kind of what we usually say braiding those resources. So making sure that you know who your local clean energy hub coordinator is, right? So New York State has a program now where there's regional clean energy hubs in the 10 economic development districts across the state. So you actually have someone that you should be able to reach out to for these things. And so for us, it's about being the connector between programs, between incentives, between resources, calling up NYSERDA, New York State Energy Research Development Authority, which is the state's energy agency, and saying, hey, we've got someone that has this suite of issues and they want to do this suite of upgrades. What is the suite of incentives? And so we really act as mainly the connector between all the folks.
Say Village of Rhinebeck wanted to move forward with this, we passed the enabling law. Would we have to wait for a whole bunch of other municipalities to come on board for that bulk purchasing power? Or could we slide in on the Kingston deal?
Yeah, so there's the slide-in option is always a great one. So this is something that we always did at Sustainable Westchester. When you have a contract, you have the business of a supplier, and it is in their best interest to get more business. So when you have a new town that has gone through the approval process, which is a bit of a lengthy process, particularly when you're waiting on the Public Service Commission to give you that approval, we can speak with a supplier and say, hey, we've got another municipality that wants to join. Here's how many households we expect to join. Would you be willing to slide them into the existing contract? And we've never had someone say no to that. That's more business for them, and you're able to slide in on the existing price. So, you know all of the terms beforehand, and it's really advantageous. Right now, there's no active contract in Kingston because we are waiting on that approval. And so there's not the slide-in ability immediately, but it is advantageous to group more municipalities when you can. But the benefit is we are getting a lot of interest. And so we've been doing these presentations across the Mid-Hudson region, and there's a lot of folks that are interested right now. So I don't think that there will actually be a shortage of folks and a shortage of municipalities that actually want to band together.
When you said you can opt into contracts of various lengths, is that the municipality or is that the homeowner?
That's the municipality. So when you go out for the bidding process, you'll accept bids for all of it. So you'll say, give us your 12-month, your 24-month, 36-month price. And so you'll be able to see all of the differences. And then we can say, okay, this 12-month rate is 10 cents per kilowatt hour. We don't want to do that. But this 24 is 9.5. That's looking good. But if we lock into 36 months, we get 8.99. And so, you can have that balance. And if our price not to exceed, for example, was 9 cents, then we know that 8.99 is the most advantageous one for us. So you have that flexibility.
I want to take a couple more questions and then we're going to move on. So I see some hands here. Yes.
What are the obstacles to getting approval by the PSC?
Time, staff constraints mainly. So, and then when I say time, it's mainly because everything requires a public comment period. So there's a 60-day window once you submit anything. You have to wait for the public comment period, after which the public service begins drafting their what they call orders. So they have official orders that they put out that have typically additional mandates or other guidance that they have for your program. And so it's at that point staff time and prioritization. Right now, as you can imagine, the Public Service Commission has a lot on their plate. They're regulating the Climate Act and all of the gas and telecoms and water utilities, and so sometimes it's just a matter of staff constraint. Sometimes it's a matter of the public comment period, but I haven't seen any kind of change in the time period. It's been standard in the 5+ years that I've done CCA. It's just kind of a waiting game with them.
Thanks.
Yes.
Is there a minimum number of households that you have to have for a municipality to join in? That's one question. And then the other question was, so when residents, for example, choose to opt in or out, suppose they opt out, does that at any point ever affect the municipality's contract if there were some minimum?
Yeah, so there's no minimums, and people can leave or join, but we've locked in that rate with the energy supplier, so it doesn't change. Every single person could opt out or except one, and they would still be required to give that rate to that one person. We've never seen that happen, and typically opt-out percentages are fairly low. I think we averaged about 10% or 5 to 10%. There's also one thing that I'd like to mention is if you already are in a contract with an energy supplier, so if you already have, XYZ ESCO on your bill, you don't get switched into the CCA. We can't and wouldn't want to pull you out of any existing contract. So if you're already signed up with an ESCO, you stay there unless you opt out with that ESCO. And what we always tell people in that regard is totally fine to do that, but you want to check with them first that you don't have any exorbitant termination fees, because oftentimes they'll give you a really low discount rate, but you'll have some kind of termination fee. And so we don't want anyone to be slammed with a $200 fee just for wanting to opt into renewables. So, I would say that's the main barrier.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Karen, treasurer's report.
Okay, treasurer's report is for the period ending June 30th. The tax collector's account ended the month with $1,458,346. The general fund ended the month with $193,787. The water fund ended the month with $42,277. And the sewer fund ended the month with $99,151. Vouchers presented for payment in the general fund total $149,997.36. In the water fund, $43,925.79. And in the sewer fund, $36,392.97. Do you want to get a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to pay the vouchers as presented.
Second.
And,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chrissy would like me to let you know that they're on the desk ready for you to sign. The monthly operating statement is provided with the revenues and expenditures through July 11th. The water and sewer billing and adjustments, as signed off by Trustee Nunica, are on file and presented for approval.
I'd like to make a motion to get the changes of water, the adjustments of water and sewer bills as submitted.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, the compost facility, $910.64 was transferred from the general to the compost facility to bring that amount to $92,714, which was returned to New World, and they accepted that in lieu of the entire $100,000 for the return of the grant. So I worked with Vanessa and got those numbers, and that is completed. I have a few budget amendments. The capital fire to the general, $47,875, as well as an increase to account number 341002. This is for, I don't know how to explain it very well. This is for a magnetic upgrade for the fire trucks that plug in, and it also is kind of a mandate from the cancer policy that they have, so it's a sole source. Brian is willing to use the capital fund for that, so that's number one. I transferred $1,800 from the Parks and Rec, and I want to increase line item 7560.4. This is for Porch Fest. It was actually sent to the village in error, and it belongs to Porch Fest. It was a donation that we didn't know what to do with, so now we do. New York State Workers' Comp, we received a reimbursement for an employee that was on workers' comp in the amount of $4,428.48. And I would also like to increase the highway salary line item by that amount, 511001. Just my next 3 year, just reporting that the transfer from the water fund to the Center Street project in the amount of $220,000, which is a partial funding for Center Street, as well as a transfer from the general fund of $232,773, which is the balance of our ARPA funding. And then just to report that we did receive the bond anticipation note of $325,000 for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. That's all I got.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the amendments as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Vanessa, purchase request for hazmat.
Yes. So as part of our plan to get this building off of the window AC units and the oil burning furnace in the basement, enable us to do that HVAC work, first we want to do a hazmat study to understand asbestos risks in the building. So I did get 3 different quotes from different hazmat service companies, and I would like to make a motion that we go with the company called AIR, Environmental Consulting LLC. Note that this is an estimated fee total, but it's for $4,359. I did a comparison of the different quotes. This one turns out to be the most affordable.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the purchase request for air.
She
for
already made the motion, I just need to second.
$4,300, what?
She already made the motion. I just
No,
need to
can I make, I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
You done?
Yep.
Very good, okay. Lucas Hill, you're still on deck.
Okay. So, Locust Hill is the workforce housing development happening in the town. And the developer wants to tap into the village's water and wastewater systems. In order to evaluate whether we had enough excess capacity, we hired Ty and Bond to do some research. Not just the existing excess capacity, but also what are the estimated future needs of the village itself. Looking at what our comprehensive plan committee is discussing for future growth and density within the village. And we did find that there is enough excess capacity indeed to serve both those purposes. So I would like to make a motion or pass the resolution that enables us to provide a letter to the developer stating that we can provide that excess capacity, that service to the developer for this Locust Hill. Under a couple conditions. One, that we get a letter from the town board with a resolution saying that the town will work with us to develop an extraterritorial district for water and wastewater. And then secondly, that we need more escrow in the account to start working on the project. Do you want me to read the resolution?
It's up to you. I think you pretty much covered it.
All right.
I second it. Is there any questions?
So this is not there's no rate setting at this time?
Correct. This next step is to say, okay, we're willing to enter into negotiations, basically, and that we do want to start getting the lawyers together to start discussing what the contract would be and the rate.
So it's been,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
it's been in the air with Rich and me for years to do this extraterritorial district, and it was my idea to link it to the Locust Hill development.
Right, and We should note, though, that the extraterritorial district isn't just for Locust Hill, it would be for all the town territory outside of the village.
Would that be a change for Rhinecliff then?
Yes.
It's,
Rhinecliff will be part of that.
So anybody currently who served our water system outside of the village would become a member of the extraterritorial district.
Correct.
It'd be for water and wastewater.
the wastewater is much smaller, and it's pretty much governed by contract, so there's gonna be some conflict with the existing contracts that we have. And like, we may not be free to raise a rate higher than it says in the contract, for example.
The reason we would want to do wastewater for those, you know, like the Gardens is on the contract with us, the owner of the Tops line. It's because if they aren't paying their bills, rather than having to sue them and take them to court, the bills could be levied via the town tax,
Well, it's,
right?
yeah. I mean, with Tops, for example, it's probably gonna be governed by the contract anyway, but it's still a good idea just to have it. The Gardens, it has a bunch of users now, it's not just the developer. That's the deal that we had, was originally with the developer, so now it's broken up in all these users. And that was the impetus, is that, yeah, we have to go to small claims court to, instead of having this ability to levy on these taxes. That requires the cooperation of the town. The other piece of this is we're gonna need a map and report from Delaware, from Ty and Bond, mapping out the new district. So part of the mapping that we're doing for Soho, we're gonna be able to use that. Because we already had to map out almost everything except for Rhinecliff in the water district.
And then, like the fire department, we effectively become the commissioners of the district. Is that the?
No.
We're not the commissioner, we still are the supplier for the service.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
We're not creating a government district.
Okay. Okay.
It's just a territorial district.
Territorial district, not.
Yeah.
It's not a new taxing entity.
No.
Gives us the ability to collect.
I understand. No, I understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
part,
it's not a major thing.
Like the fire department, like we're technically like the fire commissioners, I believe, right? Isn't that the?
No, we
sorry.
contracted a town for fire protection services in the town.
Right. Now that I know, but here in the village.
Yeah, no, it's a village fire department.
Right.
And, yeah, we run the village fire
Right.
department.
That's right. So it's not an analog to the fire department.
No.
That's what.
Okay.
So,
That won't go on.
Close enough.
for the escrow, we are asking the developer for $25,000 and the escrow not to fall below $5,000. So if we approve this resolution, I'll reach out to the developer and request that check.
Is that the Locust Hill escrow account that we currently are?
Yeah.
We have an
So it's-
extra, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
I just
they
wanted-
paid for the time bond research that enabled this decision
Okay.
through the escrow. So this is adding more to
All
the.
right, so we'll just definitely need to stay in contact with Ryan upstairs, with Ryan to make sure that when they start getting below that,
Yeah.
It's an ongoing issue,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Okay, we have some other special guests with us this evening. Back in February, we had the middle school civics class work on a project. And they're here this evening to tell us and give us an update on that project. So if you guys would like to come up, if you don't mind, please come up to the podium. First, I'd like to just add some additional comments. This class has done an outstanding job in terms of, under the leadership of teacher Henry Fresnick, to be able to take what was a concept, and the concept was they wanted to put drinking fountains into the village of Rhinebeck. And it was just a concept. And with that concept, they looked at our distribution system to decide where the best locations would be. They collaborated with another project on safe routes to schools to make sure they were coinciding with that. They worked on selecting a product that would work in the village of Rhinebeck all year round, meaning that it would work during the winter and not freeze up on us. In addition, they took the initiative to raise the funding to do this, and they did this all on their own under the direction and leadership of their instructor. So is there anything you guys would like to say before I read the resolution?
Not really. I mean, we we now have raised the money for one fountain and the installation of that, and that's it.
So you have a check, right? That you- And how much is it check for?
$13,056.
Amazing, huh? And I don't think it ends here. You know, their goal was to have two.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, the first one would be installed at the mini park. Our Village of Rhinebeck Water Department has agreed to do the installation because we have distribution lines there. And there's still additional fundraising going on, some fundraising efforts that you're still pursuing, correct?
Yes.
In terms of grants and community outreach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We still have to double this number.
We still have posters up around town in the school too, so there's still that.
Excellent. So let
The
me,
next check you bring in, it's gotta be really big like
Yeah.
this.
yeah.
So both of you have to hold.
All right, so I'm going to read the resolution. So whereas on February 14th, the 7th grade civic class from Buckley Middle School presented a project to outline their desire to implement water fountains throughout the village. Each water fountain would have 3 separate pipes to include a drinking fountain, a water bottle filler, and a dog bowl that would all be freeze resistant to the winter. And whereas after studying the village's water distribution system, they picked 2 locations on village property to install the fountains at Village Hall on Center Street and at the Village of Rhinebeck Mini Park. And whereas the students calculated this project would cost them $26,500, and they plan to raise 100% of those funds. And whereas the students have raised money now to cover the purchase of one of the water fountains and desire to have it installed at the Village of Rhinebeck Mini Park. And whereas this location has been approved by Chief Water Plant Operator Brian Alex, and whereas on today, July 11th, the students are presenting a check to the village board for the amount of
$13,056.
now therefore be it resolved that the village is in acceptance of this donation and will use it to purchase a water fountain and install it at the Village of Rhinebeck Mini Park. And be it further resolved, when the fountain is installed, a ribbon cutting ceremony and signage will be installed identifying the Rhinebeck Middle School, the Village of Rhinebeck, and the Rhinebeck Science Foundation for their donation for this project. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution and accept a check from these students. Any questions?
Fantastic.
Yeah, wonderful.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So now I want to officially accept the check. Thank you very much. Here it is. Stand up here and get your picture taken.
There you go.
I'm going to pass this on to the treasurer, if that's okay. She's the one that trusted with the money.
That's right. It's not made up to you personally.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Appointment of new fire department member David Feeney. As in always, what we do is the fire department is always accepting new members. I'd like to make a motion to accept fire department member David Feeney to Village of Rhinebeck Fire Department.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So approved. Next. Vanessa, you're back up.
All right. Okay. All right, so as I mentioned, in speaking about the Locust Hill resolution, I have submitted the letter that we'd like to send to the developer, Ken Kearney. And basically this is requesting the $25,000 in escrow and letting them know that we will serve and that we want to get the lawyers together to start negotiating contract. So that's just there for the record since we already voted. I don't think we need to vote again. Okay?
Well, I think we should vote to approve to send a letter to Ken Kearney. I mean, it's just,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the board thinks I should send this letter to Ken Kearney.
second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so approved. Very good. This is your night.
I know.
You're still on.
Okay. Now we're on CAPI. Okay, so CAPI stands for Climate Action Planning Institute. The Village of Rhinebeck is one of 9 municipalities in the Dutchess County. We've been working as a cohort with the Hudson Valley Regional Council and with a group called ICLE that works with local governments on sustainability issues. And we have now published our first greenhouse gas emissions inventory for government operations. And this is up on Climate Smart Rhinebeck. I'll probably put it up on the village website as well. But basically what we've done is we've gathered all the data related to fossil fuels burned directly, as well as our energy usage across all municipal buildings and operations. And we have lots of charts and graphs showing what how it all breaks down. So and this is up online for anyone to take a look. The next step of the CAPI project is to actually develop a climate action plan. So looking at the data, what do we think is the lowest hanging fruit or the most impactful projects for us to go ahead and tackle? For example, we found that the wastewater and water treatment plants are the biggest kind of energy hogs, if you will. So that actually times really nicely with the upgrades that we have planned for those facilities. As we upgrade that machinery, we should see more efficiency and using less electricity at those plants.
It's good that, after seeing that, it is good that it is electricity because, if we have this renewable option, then
Yeah.
we're actually using that. Because we have big electric bills at the plants, that's where the energy use is going.
Right. So in terms of burning fossil fuels, this building, Village Hall, is the biggest hog when it comes to heating the building with that big furnace in the basement. So again, that dovetails nicely with the data proving out what we think is an important project, updating the HVAC in this building. So if anybody's interested, reach out to me. I'm considering whether I should do a workshop for the public to come and discuss this. If people are interested, I'd be happy to do that.
I was very impressed with the document. Well done.
Oh, and I should mention, thank you to Michael Forlenza,
Yep.
who's on our Climate Smart Rhinebeck Task Force, who was just absolutely incredible in working on this project with me and continues to work on CAPI.
There's another little tidbit, factoid that you mentioned. I didn't see it in the report. Maybe I missed it, but that was the trees. You know what the trees do?
Yeah, so the Village Tree Commission uses a piece of software called Tree Keeper, right? And there's a whole inventory of all the street trees that have been planted or in the right of way. And that Tree Keeper software, interestingly, calculates the carbon sequestration and the kind of natural services that our trees do for us in the village. And so we did some research into that. It turns out that those calculations are in a 20-year increment, whereas our greenhouse gas emissions inventory is just for a single year. So we couldn't just plop that data right into this mix, but we did write about it in the report because we thought that it was really important to note that these trees, there's a reason why we care about the trees beyond their beauty. They're doing a lot of work for us.
And I would just point out that these are essentially only trees in parks and in the right of way. These does not count the entirety of our urban forest. So for every tree that you plant in your own yard, you're also contributing to this the uptake of CO2.
Very good. Well done. Thank you. Vanessa, I'm gonna keep you on task here.
Okay. Okay.
Extraterritorial.
Again, related to the Locust Hill project, under pending projects, we have a letter that I would like to send to the town board requesting that they pass a resolution of the town board saying that they will work with us on this extraterritorial district. So I'd like to make a motion that I send that letter to the town board.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you. We had an item grant for the water department update on Boomer Hollow.
Yeah, I didn't need for this to be on the agenda, but as part of the adjustments, we had an inadequate fire hydrant on a private fire hydrant. So we waived some past hydrant fees. And because the flow was kind of poor for that area, we have changed the 2-inch line price to a 1-inch, just basically based upon the flows that the customer was getting. So that was reflected in the adjustments that we voted on. So.
Very good. Okay, we're up to special requests. We have a special request from the Rhinebeck Chamber of Commerce for a sidewalk sale. The sidewalk sale is for retailers to display their wares on racks in the village. All tables and racks must be placed 4 feet from the front of the stores and may not block the curb. Music on market will run each day of the sidewalk sale, Friday 5 to 7, and Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 3. They envision asking Williams Lumber to participate and provide balloons and our popcorn to event attendees. And they will also have some entertainment like BB the Clown, etc. For children. The event is to take place from Friday, August 18th, Saturday, August 19th, and Sunday, August 20th. I'd like to make a motion to pass the special event for the sidewalk sale to the Village of Rhinebeck by the Rhinebeck Chamber of Commerce.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is an annual event, correct?
Yes. They're expanding it a little bit by adding some more promotional kind of stuff with the music with it, which is different than what you've done in the past. All in favor say aye. Aye. So passed. I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes for June 13th, 2023, and the special meeting on June 27th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
I didn't have a chance to read them, so I'm going to step out. I was in Turkey.
I may or may not have read it, but I'm still going to vote.
I read it.
I know.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
I'm abstaining.
And abstain, sorry, Rick.
That's all right.
Rick, tree committee.
Okay, we have one action item and one thing I'd just like to discuss. I think Vanessa mentioned the village has a subscription to a program called Tree Keeper, whereby we actually track all of the trees that are in the village right-of-way and on village property. And one of our commissioners, Pat Evans, has worked really hard to really understand the program and enable the tree commission to use it effectively. So at our last meeting, last month actually, he gave a presentation to all of the commissioners and is taking his knowledge and is passing it now on to other commissioners. And it will really help us track and work with the village when it comes to removals, permits, plantings, and we can keep tabs on our CO2 emissions. There is one action item. There was a request from 66 Chestnut Street for the removal of a tree. When the tree was examined by a certified arborist, the arborist said, I think I can cable this tree and save this tree. So that was returned back to the commission. So the commission is deferring to the arborist's recommendation. So it's a tree that doesn't have to be removed, but can be saved. We do have a new application from 14 Cozine Avenue for pruning 2 branches of a Norway maple tree and the removal of a damaged sugar maple. So I'd like to make the motion that the board accepts the pruning of a tree and the removal of another tree at 14 Cozine Avenue.
Second, only because it's already been done.
Yeah.
All in favor, say it. Any questions?
14 Cozine.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So you don't want to vote for,
I don't think we need a vote on the other one. We
66
just said, I don't think we need a vote.
only because
No,
the board previously voted to.
We authorized the removal.
Right, so it kind of would make sense if you would adjust it.
Okay, so I will make a motion that the application for 66 Chestnut Street be amended so that the tree will be pruned and cabled rather than removed.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Done?
Yep.
Vanessa, you out of breath yet? Climate Smart Task Force.
Yeah, so my monthly report, we've covered a lot of it in this meeting already. I just wanted to give an update on compost. We've been discussing other options with the town board, and I think at the town board meeting on Monday, the town board discussed some of those different options. We were looking at the town transfer station. It looks like there's some challenges with that site, such as limited staffing. We would have to cart in mulch. We would have to buy a tractor. And then there's also wetlands throughout the town property on Stone Church Road. And the DEC does require a 200-foot setback from wetlands. So we're continuing to look for other options, including working with a local farm or just working with the ozone to cart food scraps over to Ulster County. So stay tuned.
Is it? Are you
That's
done?
it, yeah.
Okay. I'm always happy to announce personnel. And this month, our police clerk, Danielle Rector, has served as not only our police clerk, but she does a phenomenal job as a dispatcher for us for the police department from 7 a.m. to 3:30 every day. And Danielle has been with us now for 14 years and been a valuable service to our police department. So congratulations to Danielle. And for highway laborer Joe Zip, time flies, been now with us 2 years. So congratulations to both of them. We're thankful for their service to the village of Rhinebeck.
Thank you.
You're up.
I would like to make a motion to go into an executive session for the purpose of discussing ongoing litigation.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.